Well, it's been a week of rather depressing news, but the one good item this week was that Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will not be going to the COP27 Climate Gabfest in Egypt starting on Sunday. Climate Change and Energy Minister Chris Bowen will be going, of course. But holding him back from a gig like that would be like standing between Rebecca Judd and the celebrity birdcage at Flemington on Melbourne Cup Day. And just as it's customary to turn up at the birdcage in clothes worth the equivalent of 2 weeks' wages to most people, it's also customary to arrive at a COP conference bearing promises to fleece your own constituents in the pursuit of net zero emissions. What will Chris Bowen promise the climate elites when his jet touches down in the desert this Sunday? Blackouts across Southeast Asia? Ritualistic demolition of more coal-fired power stations? Blanketing good quality farmland in solar panels made by Uyghur slaves in China? Let's bring in my next guest, Nick Cater of Nick Cater's Battleground each Friday night here on ADH TV, and the Executive Director of the Menzies Research Centre, to get his thoughts. Nick, welcome.
Hi Fred, how are you? You're dead right, by the way. I mean, this is COP27, I think, right? It stands for, I can't remember what COP stands for or something. But anyway, it's the big climate.
Climate opportunists and
yeah. They've been doing this for 30 years with very little effect other than to slow down the world economy. But it's like, you've got it just right there. It is like it's like the Olympics for virtue signalling, isn't it? Each one has to come along and just outshine the other in their commitment to not just action on climate change, but real action on climate change. Has to be real. And I noticed that even Greta Thunberg's had enough of this. She's not going to this one, apparently. She came out and said it's all about greenwashing. So I think, although she comes in from a slightly different angle than you and I, she's seen through this whole circus, hasn't she?
Well, I wonder if Leonardo DiCaprio will make a cameo.
I don't know. There's I think more than 30,000 registered people for this event. So
oh my goodness. And each one in a private jet.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I don't know how the airport there at Cairo is for space, but it's going to look pretty crowded. They always do. It really has taken on a size of its own. And I think it was South Australia, wasn't it? It was arguing that they should bid for COP27. And it was very much like bidding for the Olympics, and I think, but it had the same arguments behind it. You know, this will add so many billions to the South Australian economy by bringing in tourists and everything,
and enlarge the state's carbon footprint. But no one's mentioning that.
That's right.
I've actually been to Sharm el Sheikh. It's on the southern tip of the Sinai Peninsula. And back in those days, this is back in my backpacking days, it was just a place where people went to sit on the beach and go snorkeling because the edge drops off very dramatically there. And I remember everyone being warned to be careful of sharks because it's really deep water and you could get quite surprisingly attacked. But I think the sharks will be staying away from the delegates if they venture into the water.
That's right. Yeah, no, definitely they will, especially if Putin's there. I mean, it's because we all know the sharks are afraid of, the only person on earth they're afraid of is Putin. But joking apart, Fred, I did actually go to a COP conference once, or I didn't actually go to the conference. I went to a pre-conference conference at Copenhagen. And why did I go? Well, they were paying for journalists to come over and just feel what the place was like. So we did get to go before the COP conference and talk to a lot of people involved. But they really lost me. I thought, great, Copenhagen. I'll be able to meet Bjorn Lomborg, from the Copenhagen Consensus, the think tank he used to run. He is by far the world's most sensible person on this subject. And I turned up and I said, when do we get to meet Bjorn Lomborg? And I got this very awkward expression from the organisers. Well, we haven't invited him. At that point, I knew I was at the wrong gig.